And very good morning to you. Today is Wednesday, the 26th of November, 2025. And this is papertrail.com, a daily streaming all about governance, risk, and compliance in the UK for SME and mid-market firms. Yesterday, we spoke about recent incidents reporting keeps failing, and how to fix them. And today's topic is a hidden link between incidents and risk scores and things that perhaps nobody talks about. But there's something to clarify. Don't worry about acronyms. They are all explained during the live streaming. And as a disclaimer, this is not a complete guide, neither legal advice. Always look for specialists and professionals in the areas you need them, although I will focus in reviewing three main problems today. So the first thing that we're going to do is to set the scenario. So what does incident reporting means? In layman's terms, incident reporting in the UK is a formal process for documenting and analyzing unexpected events like accidents, injuries, near misses, or system failures to prevent future occurrences. It is a legal requirement in many sectors and many compliance frameworks, like, and just to mention a few, health and safety, cybersecurity, financial conduct authority, GDPR, and these are 4 out of the 16 frameworks that any UK company have to comply with if you're in scope. And there's very complex because everything interrelate to each other, and I will see that how in a minute. So let's review three main problems with this situation. So most SMEs and mid-market firms, they have a risk register that stays unchanged for months at a time, even though UK regulators expect firms to update their understanding of likelihood and control effectiveness after every incident or near miss. So it's a live register. It's not something that is unchanged, right? So that's a number one problem. Problem number two is that Information Commissioner's Office, they have a guidance, and the guidance is very clear. Personal data incidents must feed into data protection impact assessments, risk ratings, and security measures. Yet, many organizations treat breaches as an insulated errors or rather than a risk profile update, right? And number three is the Driver and Vehicle Standards Agency enforcement shows that repeated vehicle defects indicates control failure, increasing both likelihood and detection difficulty. But many operators never update their fleet risk scoring at all. So as you can see, there are different, I touched three different frameworks, and all of them have the same or similar characteristics. You have to have a register and have to be linked to scoring, risk scoring, and have to be updated. So these three problems are in different frameworks, but you can translate the same thing to all the other 16 frameworks that are mandatory in any UK company. Now, there's another thing to consider. I'm not talking about ESG yet, or SRS, or the other one, which is ISOs, which is qualities, so standards. So if you start to intertwine all of these, the things start to get very, very complex. Let me picture this. So just going back to the topic of linking incidents and risk scores, how we can picture this in a simple metaphor. The risk register is like a weather forecast, right? So every storm that actually hits changes the forecast, unless you ignore the rain, right? But it does not mean that will or will not rain. It means that given the conditions and the probability of rain, if they are high or low, so you change your forecast regularly to be prepared, right? So that's the risk register. So you, as the things are happening, you have to update what is going on. And that linked to the risk scoring. So here are three ways to solve this. One is link every incident to a risk entry. Yeah, incident, risk entry. If known, update likelihood. And if new, create a new risk. If controls fail, reassess detection difficulty, right? So, and here's a keyword, detection difficulty. How fast you can detect a potential risk, and you have to document all these things. This mirrors the logic in our software paper trail with the incident management model, and I will cover that in a minute later on. Solution number 2 is apply the UK regulator logic. The Health and Safety Executive expects evidence that incidents trigger control reviews, right? Evidence that incidents trigger control reviews. The Information Commissioner offices expects change threat assessment. So if something changed, which is a threat assessment for that. And for example, the Driver and Vehicle Standards Agency expects defect trends to inform maintenance strategies, right? So these all linked to everything. And number 3, avoid this trap, the single event thinking. Incidents are not one-off. They are signals, patterns of spills, defects, data slips, or service faults usually reveal deeper operational or procedural gaps, right? So in other words, you have a mechanisms of telling you what's going on in terms of risk and the register, and which is the scoring that you're giving to this risk. So if you are keeping these documents alive, you're most likely to have a very, very tight operation in terms of risk assessment and how to register them. And more importantly, how to detect them beforehand, right? So you can see how is the complexity. We are talking about 3 or 4 frameworks here, but imagine all these complex, all these treatments for the other 16 frameworks that are required. I'm not talking about ISO, SRS, or ESG if you are in those scopes. And this is particularly difficult for SMEs and mid-market companies where there are no dedicated teams, officials, or personnel within the company to run these compliance requirements, right? So no wonder 73% of the company outsource and hire consultants, advisors, or delegate to contractors. And this is according to a PwC report this year. So what should be looking for, or what you should be looking for, particularly with these linking incidents and risk scores? As I always mention in these live streams, you and your company should have a compliance baseline, or at least a baseline in mind, so you can hire on your own terms. And 3 suggestions today for outsourcing these to advisors, consultants, or delegate to contractors. And delegation of contractors, also remember, could be your accounting firm or your law firm. Particularly for today's topic, which is linking incidents and risk scores, is look for what is the outcome that they are providing. So number 1 is look what is the outcome that they provide to you. They structure out links to each incident to relevant risks, update scorings, and recalculate the impact, likelihood, the tension, and the time sensitivity around this. So giving you a real time picture of exposure across your plant, your fleet, or your service terms, right? Number 2, what is a differentiator they are providing to you? How they identify whether incidents are not stuck in logs, right? They update controls, treatments, and evidence across all the frameworks like health and safety, GDPR, cyber essentials, fleet management, ESG, sanctions, etc., without duplication, because you don't want siloed data that actually don't talk to each other, because many of these things are related one to the other, right? And the third thing to look into when you're outsourcing these things is how they reduce or help you to reduce your risk. Do they flag blind spots, like when incidents fall outside existing definitions, ensuring new exposures are added before they become a systemic failure? Now, how you can test this today to see where you are standing: take one incident from the last 60 days and update the linked risk score. If you have a link score, if you don't have a link score, then if you don't have a risk score and you cannot link an incident to a score, then you have to adjust the likelihood, detection difficulty, or impact based on real evidence. Yeah, if you manage to get that in less than 10 minutes, I would say that you're good. If not, you probably need to start considering or reconsidering your processes and system, because probably you don't have a risk score that is solid enough, or a risk register that is not identified and helping you to detect this risk beforehand, or give you enough anticipation to what's going to happen. So we are going to talk about triage tomorrow. Now, very complex, very complicated. So Is this a faster, more reliable, and easier way? Yes, it is. It's called Papertrail. It's our software. So you turn your every incident into live risk intelligence, right? The risks are live intelligence because it gives you feedback of what's going on and how to prevent them with an automatic scoring, treatments, and evidence updates across your operations. And all of them ready to demonstrate risk and evidence. And remember, this is key. So you have your requirements, your company profile, adjust to those requirements. So you don't have, if you have requirements, you're a manufacturer, probably you don't have requirements if you're a service provider, but you have to map these out requirements to your company profile. Then you have to have your controls ready and working for you, and then the evidence. And remember that the evidence is always the best defensible position that you can have in front of the audits, in front of regulators, in front of inspectors, etc. Is the evidence, right? So you can, with our software, you can stop activities that increase workload, but don't add any value, like increasing your costs and labor hour expenses in just redundant work. You remember that we mentioned a lot of spreadsheets, siloed software that actually don't talk to each other. So then you have to download everything and upload everything again into a business intelligence tool, and that start to deteriorate the data, and you start to audit the past. You don't have something that is live and you can make decision on the spot. So this is perfect for UK SMEs and mid-market because you use the same control library for health and safety, GDPR, DVCA, Cyber Essentials, EPR for packaging. So there's no double entry. And this is reducing your overlap by 60% and your costs by 80%. So you have everything in one place. It's a continued gap analysis. It's a clear view of what's done, what is missing, and who owns the fix before assurance, inspections, reports, or audits hits you, right? So you can do it once, you can do it properly, and then move on to the things that are more interesting to you, that I'm guessing is grow your company and be more profitable. So join the waitlist, papertrail.com, and stay tuned. Today, we looked at how incidents reshape your risk picture. And tomorrow, we are going to focus in the mechanics, how to document and triage. And triage pretty much means the protocol or the steps that you had to follow, events, so nothing falls through the cracks, right? So have a great day and see you tomorrow.